Doctor becomes pregnant by a homeless man she met on the street. Everyone ridiculed her until an unexpected event proved there's more to their story than meets the eye. The morning in San Francisco was a swirl of energy and noise. Horns honked, people rushed by, and the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the salty sea air. Dr. Alara Winslow stepped out of the emergency room, her scrubs stained and her hair a mess. After a long shift filled with chaos, she craved a moment of peace. She watched the bustling crowd, her heart heavy with the weight of the day. Just as she closed her eyes for a brief moment, Alara noticed a figure slumped against a building. It was Jasper, a homeless man she often saw but never spoke to. Today, he sat on the street corner, his face pale and his body trembling from exhaustion. For a second, the world around her faded, and all she could see was his vulnerability. Why was he here? Did anyone care? Alara hesitated, a mixture of compassion and curiosity pulling her closer. "Hey," she said softly, kneeling beside him. "Do you want some water?" She pulled a bottle from her bag, the cool plastic glistening in the sunlight. Jasper looked up, his eyes clouded, yet full of a deep sadness. "Water? That would be nice," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Alara handed him the bottle, their fingers brushing briefly. As he drank, she studied his face, the lines etched from years of hardship. "Thank you," he said, finally meeting her gaze. Not many people stopped to help. His words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Alara felt a knot twist in her stomach. Why did that bother her? "What's your name?" she asked, hoping to keep the conversation going. "Jasper," he replied, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "And you're Dr. Winslow, right? I've seen you around." Surprised that he knew her name, she nodded. "Yeah, that's me. You've been around here for a while? Longer than I care to remember." He chuckled softly, but there was no joy in it. "You know, people look past me like I'm invisible. It's like being a ghost in your own city." Alara felt a pang of guilt. She had been one of those people, rushing by without a second thought. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I didn't know." "No need to be sorry," Jasper replied, his gaze steady. "It's just how it is. People are busy, and I get it." He paused, looking up at the skyscrapers hovering over them. "But sometimes, I wish someone would just stop and talk." Alara nodded, her heart aching for him. "What's your story, Jasper? How did you end up here?" His eyes flickered, a mix of pain and nostalgia. "I had a job once, a good one, but life has a way of turning upside down, you know? One moment you're on top and the next, you're lost." "What did you do?" Alara leaned in, captivated by his words. "I was a teacher," he said, a hint of pride breaking through the sadness. "I loved it, but then I got sick, lost everything, friends, family, job. It all slipped away like sand through my fingers." Alara listened, her heart heavy with empathy. She couldn't help but reflect on her own life. Here she was, a doctor, surrounded by privilege, while Jasper was left to fight for every breath. It felt unfair, like a cruel twist of fate. "Do you ever think about going back?" she asked, probing deeper. "Of course," he replied, a shadow crossing his face. "But it's hard to think about what could have been when you're stuck in the now." Alara's chest tightened. Could she ever understand his pain? Did she have the right to feel guilty for her success? "I wish I could help you," she said softly. "You already are." Jasper smiled faintly, and for a moment, the world around them faded away. In that shared connection, Alara found herself questioning her own life, her choices, and her place in a society that so often overlooked the struggles of others. What was she doing to make a difference? As the sounds of the city rushed back in, Alara took a deep breath, knowing this moment would linger in her mind long after they parted ways. Would she continue to walk by, or would she dare to change her path? As days turned into weeks, Alara Winslow found herself drawn back to that bustling corner in San Francisco. Each time she finished her shift at the hospital, she made her way to the same spot, hoping to see Jasper. Their conversations had become a small refuge for her, a place where she could escape the weight of her demanding job and the expectations that surrounded her. One sunny afternoon, as Alara approached the corner, she spotted Jasper sitting against a wall, his eyes closed and face turned to the sun. A smile crossed her lips as she walked over. "Hey Jasper, mind if I join you?" she asked softly. Startled, Jasper opened his eyes and smiled back. "Alara, I was just resting. It's nice to see you again." They settled into a comfortable silence for a moment, the sounds of the city fading into the background. Eventually, Alara broke the quiet. "So, what have you been up to?" Jasper chuckled lightly. "Oh, you know, the usual, finding a place to sleep, looking for food. But I did manage to score a good sandwich yesterday. Best thing I've eaten in a while." Alara nodded, her heart aching at the casual way he spoke about his struggles. "I can't believe how tough it must be sometimes. I'm glad you got a good meal." "Yeah, it's the little things," he replied, his gaze thoughtful. "But what about you? How's the hospital?" "It's busy, as always," Alara said, her expression darkening for a moment. "There are days when it feels like I'm just running on empty. Everyone expects so much from me." Jasper tilted his head, studying her. "You seem like you carry a lot on your shoulders. Was it compassion? Or was it something more?" One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Alara shared a vulnerable thought. "I feel something different when I'm with you. It's confusing." Jasper looked at her intently. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. It's just, you make me see the world differently. I feel more alive," she admitted, her cheeks flushing. "But what does that mean for me?" Jasper smiled softly. "It means you're open to new possibilities. That's a beautiful thing, Alara. Just don't be afraid to explore it." As they spoke, Alara couldn't shake the feeling that her life was shifting. With each encounter, she felt more connected to Jasper, yet the weight of her professional life loomed over her. The pressures from her colleagues, the expectations, the judgments, seemed to grow louder in her mind. Then, one day, the ground beneath her shifted completely. Alara discovered she was pregnant. The news hit her like a wave, sending her spiraling into a storm of emotions. She wanted to share it with Jasper, but fear tangled her thoughts. What would this mean for them? What would people think? As she sat alone in her apartment that night, the reality of her situation settled in. Her heart raced with excitement and dread. Alara knew she had to confront her feelings, not just for Jasper, but also for the life growing inside her. The world felt both vast and tiny at that moment, and she wondered if she could find a way to embrace it all. As the days turned into weeks, Alara felt the weight of her pregnancy pressing down on her. Each morning, she walked through the hospital, her heart racing at the thought of facing her colleagues. The whispers followed her like shadows, their laughter ringing in her ears, a constant reminder of the judgment she faced. "Did you hear about Dr. Winslow?" one doctor said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Pregnant and dating a homeless man. What a choice." Alara's stomach twisted at the words. She wished she could disappear, but she could not escape the reality. She had chosen Jasper, and with him came a world of challenges she had never anticipated. One afternoon, during a break in the staff lounge, she found herself cornered by Dr. Mitchell, a senior physician known for his sharp tongue. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, a smirk on his face. "You really think this is a good idea, Alara? A baby with him? What kind of future are you setting up?" Alara clenched her fists, her heart pounding. "I love him, Mitchell. Maybe you don't understand what that means." "Love? You call that love?" he scoffed. "You're a doctor. You should know better than to throw your life away on a man like that." Alara felt her cheeks burn with anger and embarrassment. "You don't know him. You don't know anything about us." Mitchell shrugged, dismissing her words. "Keep telling yourself that. Just remember, this hospital runs on reputation. You're risking yours." The confrontation left her shaken. As she walked outside, the cool air hit her face, but it did little to soothe her turmoil. She needed to talk to Jasper. He understood her in ways no one else did. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alara found Jasper sitting on a bench in the park, looking up at the sky. He smiled when he saw her, and the warmth of his gaze melted some of her worries away. "Hey, Alara," he greeted softly. "You look troubled. What's on your mind?" She sat next to him, her body tense. "It's work. They don't understand. They judge me for being with you, for being pregnant. It feels like I'm under a microscope." Jasper listened, nodding slowly. "That sounds tough. People are quick to judge what they don't understand." "Exactly," she replied, her voice shaking. "It's like they think they know me, but they only see the surface. They don't see how you make me feel, how you make me feel safe." He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You know, love doesn't come with a checklist." As she placed the breathing tube, she stole a glance at Samuel's face. Was he going to be okay? In that moment, Alara felt the weight of her dual identity. She was not just a doctor. She was also a woman carrying a child whose father was a man society deemed unworthy. She had to balance her role in the hospital with her feelings for Jasper, who was waiting for her outside. After stabilizing Samuel, Alara stepped back, wiping the sweat from her brow. The room buzzed with activity, but in her mind, she was alone. She thought about the conversations she had shared with Jasper, the dreams he had shared with her. He had opened her eyes to a world beyond her white coat, a world where love mattered more than status. "Alara," a voice broke through her thoughts. It was Dr. Morgan, her colleague. "Are you okay? You've been quiet." "I'm fine," she replied, forcing a smile. But the truth was, she was far from fine. The reality of her relationship with Jasper and her pregnancy hung heavily on her heart. I worry about Samuel." Dr. Morgan nodded, her expression softening. "He's strong. He'll pull through. You did well today." As the team worked to stabilize Samuel further, Alara felt a pang of guilt. "I wish I could do more," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're doing everything you can," Dr. Morgan reassured her. "We all have our struggles. It's okay to feel overwhelmed." Alara appreciated the support, but still felt torn. She thought about the life growing inside her and how it was tied to Jasper, a man she had come to love deeply. Would she have the strength to face the judgment of her colleagues? Would they understand her choice? As the night wore on, Samuel was wheeled into surgery. Alara stood in the hallway, her heart heavy with worry. She knew she couldn't hide forever. The love she felt for Jasper was real, and it deserved to be acknowledged. "Hey, Alara," a familiar voice called. It was Jasper, standing at the entrance of the hospital, looking concerned. She felt a rush of warmth seeing him there, his presence grounding her in the storm of emotions. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I wanted to check on you. I saw the news about the emergency call. I was worried." Alara stepped closer, her heart swelling. "I'm okay. Samuel is in surgery now. It was intense." Jasper's eyes softened as he took in her weary expression. "You're amazing, you know that? You care so much for your patients." "I'm trying to navigate everything," she admitted, her voice breaking. "Being a doctor and being pregnant. It feels like so much." "Then let me help you," he said, reaching for her hand. "You don't have to face this alone." Alara looked into Jasper's eyes, searching for strength. "I want to tell them about us, but I'm scared." "You have to be true to yourself, Alara. Love is worth it," he replied, squeezing her hand gently. In that moment, Alara realized that the essence of family was not defined by societal norms. It was about love, support, and the connections they shared. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her decisions slowly lift. Whatever happened next, she would face it with Jasper by her side. After the chaotic incident at the hospital, Alara found herself at a crossroads. She stood at the edge of her decision, caught between the life she had always known and the raw truth of her heart. The bright lights of San Francisco flickered around her, but she felt a shadow looming over her thoughts. Should she continue to hide her relationship with Jasper, or was it time to embrace who she truly loved? One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow in her small apartment, Alara sat with her closest friend, Mia. They were sipping tea on the couch, the silence stretching comfortably between them. Alara was the first to break it. "Mia, I have to tell you something," Alara began, her voice trembling slightly. "It's about Jasper." Mia looked at her, concern etching her features. "Is everything okay? You seem worried." Alara took a deep breath, her heart racing. "I've been hiding him from everyone. From my colleagues, from my family. But after what happened at the hospital, I can't keep pretending anymore. I love him, and I want to be honest about it." Mia's expression softened. "Alara, that's huge. But why have you kept it a secret?" "I guess I was scared. Scared of how people would react," Alara admitted, her eyes downcast. "I work in a world where image matters. I thought people would judge me." "Maybe they will," Mia said gently. "But you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be true to yourself. This is your life, Alara. You shouldn't have to hide." Alara felt a rush of gratitude for her friend's support. "You really think I can do this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Absolutely," Mia replied, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "You are strong, and if Jasper makes you happy, then you should let everyone see that." With renewed determination, Alara decided it was time to introduce Jasper to her colleagues. She felt a mix of excitement and fear as she prepared for the moment. What would they say? How would they react? The next week, Alara invited Jasper to a small gathering at the hospital. She paced nervously in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair. "You've got this," she whispered to herself. When Jasper arrived, he looked a bit unsure, his eyes scanning the room filled with doctors and nurses. Alara smiled, and it filled him with warmth. "You look great," he said softly, a hint of pride in his voice. "Thanks. Just be yourself," she reassured him, taking his hand. "These are my people, and they will get to know the real you." As they entered the room together, a hush fell over the crowd. Alara felt the weight of their gazes, but she held her head high. "Everyone, I want you to meet Jasper," she announced, her voice steady. "He is important to me." Some of her colleagues exchanged glances, surprise evident in their expressions. Dr. Thompson, a senior surgeon, was the first to speak. "Alara, are you serious? This is unexpected." "Yes, I am serious," Alara replied, her heart racing. "Jasper is a part of my life, and I won't hide that anymore." A murmur swept through the group. Some nodded in support, while others frowned. "But he's homeless, Alara. Is that really the kind of person you want to be with?" asked Dr. Jones, skepticism lacing her words. Jasper squeezed Alara's hand tighter, sensing her distress. "I may not have a home, but I have a heart and a story, just like everyone else," Jasper said, his voice steady. "I'm here because Alara cares about me, and I care about her." Alara looked at Jasper, pride swelling in her heart. "Exactly. We all have our struggles. This is about love, respect, and being real with one another. I hope you can understand that." The room fell silent, and Alara's pulse quickened. Then, slowly, a few of her colleagues began to clap. Mia joined in, her applause loud and encouraging. One by one, others followed, though not everyone looked convinced. As the evening progressed, Alara and Jasper engaged with the group, sharing laughter and stories. The initial tension began to melt away, and Alara felt a sense of relief. They were navigating this new reality together, step by step, Later, as they walked home hand in hand, Alara turned to Jasper, her heart full. "I didn't expect such mixed reactions," she said, a hint of concern in her voice. "It's okay," Jasper replied, a calm smile on his face. "What matters is that we're being true to ourselves. We'll figure this out together." Alara nodded, feeling the weight of uncertainty lift slightly. They were building their family on their own terms, and for the first time, she felt hopeful about the journey ahead. As the days turned into weeks, Alara and Jasper prepared for the arrival of their child. The small apartment they shared became a space filled with anticipation and warmth. Alara often found herself in the nursery, arranging tiny clothes and toys, while Jasper painted the walls with soft, pastel colors. Each stroke of the brush felt like a promise of hope. "Do you think they will like this shade?" Jasper asked, stepping back to admire his work. His eyes sparkled with excitement, a stark contrast to the struggles they had faced. Alara smiled, placing her hand on her belly. "I think they will love it. It's calming and bright, just like our family." She felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This was their dream, and it was finally coming true. Their lives were not without challenges. Alara still faced whispers and judgment from some of her colleagues. One afternoon, as she walked through the hospital, she overheard a group of doctors discussing her choices. "Can you believe she's with him? A homeless man?" one doctor scoffed. Alara's heart sank, but she took a deep breath and kept walking. She knew she had to rise above the negativity. Jasper often reminded her, "Love is stronger than what they say." His words echoed in her mind, giving her strength. Later that week, Alara and Jasper attended a community event organized by a local charity. The event aimed to support families in need, and they both felt it was essential to be there. As they arrived, they saw families of all shapes and sizes, each with their own stories of struggle and triumph. It was a comforting sight. "Look at all these people," Jasper said, taking Alara's hand. "They're just like us, trying to create a good life." Alara nodded, feeling a sense of belonging. "It's nice to know we're not alone in this." As they mingled, they met a couple who had also faced adversity. The woman, Lisa, shared her story of overcoming homelessness with her partner. "It's not easy," she said, her voice filled with determination. "But love keeps us going. We find strength in each other." Alara felt a connection with Lisa. "It's so true. Sometimes, it feels like the world is against us, but we have to hold on to the love we have." Jasper added, "And that love can inspire others. We can show them that family is what you make of it." The conversation filled Alara with hope. They were not just preparing for their child's arrival, they were building a community. Together, they shared laughter, stories, and dreams, reinforcing their belief in love as a unifying force. As the days passed, Alara's due date approached. Excitement mixed with anxiety filled the air. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Jasper turned to Alara, worry etched on his face. "What if I'm not good enough as a dad? What if I fail?" Alara reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "You are already good enough. You have shown me what love is, and that's what our child needs. We will learn together." "I just want to protect you both," he said, his voice softening. "I want to give our child a better life." "You already are," Alara replied, her eyes shining with conviction. "By being here and being you, you are giving our child everything." When the day finally arrived, Alara felt a mix of nerves and joy. As she held her newborn in her arms, tears filled her eyes. The baby was small and perfect, a symbol of their love and resilience. "Welcome to the world," Jasper whispered, his voice thick with emotion. He gently stroked the baby's head, and Alara saw the love radiating from him. In that moment, Alara understood that true strength lies in vulnerability and compassion. They had created a family that defied expectations, one built on love and understanding. As they looked at their child, Alara felt a profound sense of hope. They would face challenges, but together, they would uplift each other and those around them. Their journey was just beginning, and it was filled with endless possibilities. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about how an unexpected visit has changed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.